What's going on? It's Monday. That means we're here. Celso and Erik Holstrom, Section 128. This is Los Angeles, an LAFC podcast. Thank you so much for being here. We're, of course, going to talk about Toluca, our next opponent, tomorrow's game, which is crazy. We just had a
Wednesday.
game.
Wednesday.
But Wednesday, sorry. We're doing this again now with Wednesday. So we have a couple of days to breathe after a nice win on the road. LAFC picking up 3 points in Erik's home state. So we'll be breaking down this win, what it meant. No Sonny, and now like no Boanga coming up for this game. But we hope that the CCL final is what comes out of these next few games. So, but first, our friends from Fugazi as usual. All right, another Monday, man. I just can't keep up with how many shows we've done this season already, which have been really fun. But
All of
it's
them.
still like I can't even keep up. When is the next game? And as I said Tuesday, and it's not. It's Wednesday against Toluca. How are you, and how you feeling, my friend?
I'm good, man. I feel better after that game. Much was an LAFC that I recognize a lot more, even with the rotation. So feel much better. We're gonna see. I don't know how everybody else is feeling out there with these games coming up. I'm sure there's a lot of mixed emotions. Are we ready to come out there and play a competitive game? Are we going to come out there and shit the bed? Who's showing up? Which team's going to show up? The team against San Jose, the team against Minnesota, maybe the team that crushed Miami the first game of the year. We're going to find out. I'm sure we have our ideas.
Dude, and that's been one of the bigger differences. Aside from maybe one or two games, LAFC has showed up for the big games, whether it was Cruz Azul in the beginning of the year against Inter Miami, which was what we asked. Hey, maybe don't be stellar every week, but in the big games, show up your big bad face. And I believe that we saw a little bit of that against Minnesota, a good team that has James Rodriguez, which doesn't look like the same James, but it's still a team that I respect. And going on the road in MLS with your head in another game, it could be really hard, and the boys executed. What did you think of the mental composure of LAFC getting 3 points on the road with so much noise around them right now?
No, I mean that was the whole thing. They've been on a slide. They dropped a disappointing game to Portland. They got blown out of the water against San Jose. And, how are they going to turn around? Because they just got through an emotional victory of Cruz Azul before then. So to get out of that, completely lose a game last second that could have gotten a point out of on the road and then just drop it, and hopefully it's what they learned. I thought after the San Jose that if this team's going to do it, it's better they do it now than do it this midweek or next midweek against Toluca or against a bigger opponent in a more important game. So that's passed. We saw a lot of fight against Minnesota, the team coming back. I don't think we quite saw it where, as good as we've seen it, but we also were rotating guys through. So we had a lot of backups on there. All that considering, it was a good game, a good fight, and they took care of business. So I'm feeling okay.
Having said that, it was, there were backups, but it was somewhat of a mixed lineup. We did see many of our starters there for the Minnesota game. Were you surprised with the lineup? And if you want to pull up and go through it, for anybody that's watching, shout out, please hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, it really helps us out. But please talk to me about, the starting lineup. You've mentioning some rotations there. I thought great to see Smoliakov in there, someone that we thought can get more minutes. Ibobasi at the end really pissed me off. And I felt like this is a guy that if you're going to do that and miss that many goals, please don't take the minutes away from someone else. But what did you see from personnel, given that we have this load of games coming up?
Yeah. And going into after the San Jose show, I said I would like to see complete full rotation. They still did not fully rotate the team. Bouanga was in for a while. I love seeing Ordaz in. Martinez played a pretty short first half, which he's young. He's okay, but he does have his injury history, which is something that has to be thought about. But
Correct.
he came in, got the goal that got us the 3 points at the end. Hollingshead in, great. Tillman came in. He started the game and came out. He played a good game as well. And I think, all in all, I've been thinking, I think Tillman probably is having the best year that I've seen him play with us. And I think this is just something under Mark Dos Santos' system. He just makes it plays a little more to his skills than Dolobal did. But so Tillman was in. We've seen a noticeable drop off now. When he's not on the field, we look a lot. We have trouble getting the ball. And as I've kind of always said for a while, even when I have mixed feelings apologizing about it. Tillman is one of the best off the ball midfielders we have in this league. If your team doesn't have possession, you want Tim Tillman on your team. When you have possession, it is what it is. But you need an off the ball guy. He kind of plays like a destroyer. He does his pressing, and so that's great. Eustachio getting minutes was good. He definitely looks rusty. He's going to need to tighten it up. A little nervous about him if he's going to be starting the next game already against Toluca. Is he going to be there? We'll see. Smolyakov looked a bit better out there. It's good to see him, as a rotational piece. He still was probably not one of the weaker performances we had on the field, but no big major mistakes, none of that. So it was good to have him in there to rest some other guys. Back line, Aaron Long coming back in. He looked very solid. He did not look very rusty. And I was a little surprised because we saw the video of him, I want to say a month ago when he first came back, and his knee was atrophied. It was half the size of his good knee. And so to have him put in a shift like that already, Long must be hitting that rehab real hard. So
took some heat online for saying that, Porteous to me could be the odd man out. And I don't know. He comes in and I really don't know what he came in to fulfill, whether it's a long-term role with a team like LAFC or someone that spends a season here and moves on. And with Aaron coming back, Lorenzo Della Valle is still a guy that we haven't seen because of injury. So there's some depth in this position, Erik. What do you think of, him maybe not being here long-term just because of how much depth we have in that particular position? People are like, you're crazy. He's defender of the year. And I'll say this because Tafari is playing out of his mind as well. And you know what I mean? You could free up a lot of room if he's not here and bring another caliber player, maybe another 8, someone that can, bring the ball forward. What do you think of that? What do you think of Porteous in the light of Aaron Long coming back?
No, I like Porteous. I like Porteous a lot. And I think looking at this, the other thing that plays into it is our left back position, which Eddie Segura has been filling. Artem Smolyakov doesn't seem to have a ton of confidence from the coach to be a guy to put in critical times. He's just kind of a rotational guy. So with that being said, I think Segura comes off of the depth chart for center backs, which basically means we now have Long, Tafari, and Porteous there. So that's 3 center backs.
Okay.
And I think we want 3 center backs. So if Smolyakov moves on to another team, which I think will be good for his career since he's not getting the minutes, we spoke about that. We pick up another left back to come in who's good enough, ready to start right away. Then all of a sudden, with these 4 guys in the center back position, it starts to look a little different. Although Segura is a bit of a utility man as well. But end of the day, these 4 guys as the 4 standalone center backs, we have one too many. But as 3 of them, that's what we need. We need depth.
Yeah, I know, and I love it. And we have to have depth, especially in this position. It's been something LAFC has done over and over again. But again, if you have to roster manage and there's guys that are outplaying you for the money that you make, it becomes a question mark. But I love it. I love that we have some depth, and I love that we found this guy. I think we have to credit Neil McGuinness for this move. I'm not sure, but it feels to me like a Neil McGuinness move to have found this guy in a moment that we did when Aaron Long had gone down. Many teams do not have anything left once their main center backs goes down like that. And we find this dude and we're able to complete our season. So no issues with this guy. It's just a question. I am not trying to start shit. as someone from Defenders said online. But
Look,
let's keep going to midfield, bro. Like, sorry, go ahead. You have a thought
yeah, no,
before we go on
last
there.
thing. Look, and for those of you old schoolers who've been here from the start, like you will remember the LAFC 2020 season where we got rid of Zimmerman, and then that's when we lost Segura to his ACL tear, as he was one of the best center backs of the year. And then we also lost Danilo Silva to a back injury that basically ended his career. All of a sudden, we were down to Dejan Jakovic, who was our Canadian center back number 4, having to roll out there every game, and the guy was at the end of his career. He put up a great time at that, but I think this has taught the front office that you need to have at least 4 guys who are ready to go at center back, because we've had that depth get crushed before. So I don't think it's a mistake that they've forgotten.
Yeah, but then we went to our youth, and a guy like Kenny Nielsen, which like we talked about, not getting any younger. Is not a youth guy. He's just a dude that's been playing in the lower divisions. Will never be featured, and maybe that's a good thing, right? But what we saw from Kenny has been good, and if you can give these guys continuity, maybe he can be a starter in any other roster in this league, right? But it just proves you how hard it is to make it at LAFC. And by the way, that was when we brought Murillo in, and Murillo's first season with LAFC was horrendous. It was really hard to watch, and everybody was just beating on this dude. And next season, he was like one of our best guys. So I have to applaud the front office for what they've done in that position. I really like it. The guys have come in, has been really good. We haven't missed a pace. And when you see the quality of, for example, the Galaxy center backs, and no offense to them, I just watched the Toluca game, the tape of that Toluca game, and we are blessed to have so many good dudes playing that position. You mentioned the midfield. We did have Eustáquio coming back. What a relief to have that dude back there. But he did look rusty, and maybe again, he was told to maybe go 70% since he was just going back, and Toluca is the bigger game. What did you see from him?
He looked like a guy that hasn't played a competitive game in a month, basically. I mean, the first time
he looked like himself.
You also have to remember he hasn't been training with the team. He went back to Portugal to rehab the last 2 weeks, maybe even 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks. But when he got injured here, it got aggravated in the physio room. Basically, a massage just kind of knocked it in a bad place. And so, yeah, he basically went back to Portugal, to his home club, and recovered with his staff, which means that he was across an ocean and a continent from us. So he's not there with the team for a month. He gets back. I think he was back with the team for 3-4 days before starting in this game. So he's fresh off the plane, and he needs to get back into it. So it's I guess it's one of those things that the staff will evaluate him, how he looks in the practice, and decide whether they want to roll him out in a game critical like this. So
which was your concern, right? Because Toluca, much better. Do we want to put a guy there that is not 100%, where we have some options in midfield? So the other 2 midfielders, we talked about Tim Tillman. I put a tweet out there, probably the most underrated motherfucker that we've had here, just because of how much shit he's taken, especially after the comment about Liga Mackey's and all that. There's just been history with him, and people signing him as the odd man out, like the guy that is, the scapegoat for something that's happened, just because he, like you said, he plays off the ball and such. But what you've noticed is the game that LAFC lost at home, that had basically complete lackluster, the 0-0 as well. The possession was so one-sided when he's not there. And that's something that he's basically our only true holding midfielder, the guy that can either control the pace with his positioning, like you said, but with the ball carrying as well. So he's doing a lot of that carrying for us. And, some of the hardest work that a soccer team has to do. And we had guys like Ilya Sanchez that have done really well for us. Igor Jesus, an excellent ball carrying midfield for us. Kellen Acosta was doing that for us. So we've had a history of these guys. And when you see the possession, once again, LAFC got kicked in the balls when it comes to possession. What do you think of that? Because now it's the second game in a row where we see possession eroding. The team doesn't not wanting the ball, and people making the comments like, hey, LAFC is the same team that they were under Steve Cherundolo. And again, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the lack of possession. Is this a problem? And is it going to be a problem against Toluca?
I'm not sure against Toluca because Toluca, I know they have a lot of speed in their forwards and they're very slow in the back. And I think Toluca plays similar to us where they really just like to attack hard and they like to attack with
Mhm.
speed. So the question is going to come down the midfield, which Toluca's midfield isn't bad either, as we kind of get into preview of the game, which I'm not sure if we're there yet. But it's I think this is one of those games that it has a potential of just turning into kind of a brawl. As far as the form in the previous games, my only hope in this is that the form was where it was because they're kind of looking ahead to this game, especially after Cruz Azul. I mean, everybody knows this is the big one on the calendar, and that the last two games are just kind of going through the motions to get to this.
Well, look, now just real quick, though, the teams that are ahead of LAFC in Major League Soccer in terms of performance is San Jose Earthquake, Vancouver Whitecaps, Nashville SC, and now LA with 6 wins. So we're keeping up with the big guys, even though we are in 2 tournaments simultaneously. So even though I said that, hey, it's really hard to be good at 2, you can't really say LAFC is not doing their job, especially given how hard it is to win on the road. Yeah, you had a slip at home, but guess what? It was against the best team currently in Major League Soccer. You can make an argument in the San Jose Earthquakes. So I don't necessarily think LAFC can handle 2 competitions, right? And I like that we gave priority to CCL and such, but now it comes another pace of frantic games, 3 in 7 days, and you have to start about rotating players even for the weekend, right? And there's just so much on the line with CCL, bro, because it just keeps going and the margin of error is so small, and you have the first game at home. So the most important thing for any game at home is just not concede, especially in this situation. So what do you think now? Let's just move on from MLS. Yay, we win. We have some momentum. Let's just move on to what it really matters. A game 48 hours from today where LAFC has Toluca, a team that just kicked the Galaxy in the teeth.
Like this, this will be such a big piece that Mark Dos Santos is going to be judged on by the fan base is going to be this game. We all know this is a huge game. At this point, I believe Cruz Azul were the favorites to win this tournament. We knocked them out. I believe Toluca are now the favorites to win this tournament. So we're going to have to knock out the other ones. We said it before going into Cruz Azul that to be the best, you have to beat the best. So if this LAFC team is going to be the best, this is who we got to beat. And I've beat this drum a million times, but I don't know if I've said it yet this year. And that is games like this, big games, the team that wants to win that game the most is the team that's going to win that game. They'll find a way to do it. And so with semifinals like this, just like finals, it comes down to the players digging down deep, not getting beat on second balls, not being sloppy, not making mistakes. And when you have a team at that level, and we're at that level too, don't get it wrong, Toluca's in the same boat. If they make a mistake against us, they're going to get punished, So at the end of the day, this is going to be 2 heavyweights slugging it out. We just have to play our game. The boys have to want it more. We cannot have like that finals against Leon where the guys look like they didn't even get off the bus. Those games where a team doesn't even look like they got off the bus. This is what
that will be against Tigres. That will be against Tigres. So hold on. No, I agree with you, and I love what you said that as far as who wants it more, right? Because at this point we're splitting hairs. Turco Mohamed, an amazing coach, right? Marco Dos Santos, a really good coach. So maybe they have an advantage on the coaching there, but player wise, I'm not that scared of this roster, not more than I was of Cruz Azul or vice versa. I actually think this is an inferior roster outside of maybe Paulinho and a couple guys. Elinho looks really fast. So you can contain these guys and basically be the aggressor in this series, especially within at home. However, the big wrinkle of it is just one. If you get scored, if you expose yourself at home, you can concede an away goal, and that can hurt you on the second leg. So a slower pace game, even though at home, to me, is a good formula for LAFC. Strategically thinking, what do you expect from Marc Dos Santos telling his guys for the first 45 minutes of this series, this is what you're going to do. Your mark, what would you say to them?
Well, I think the one thing which we haven't really talked about, and I'll bring it up now, is that our Denny Bwanga will be suspended the first leg from yellow card accumulation, which is 2 yellow cards in this tournament, which is a very low number. But, at the same time, they're trying to protect the players on this and make it steep. So this is a rule everybody has. And shout out Jono at the beginning said, hey, you guys, Bwanga's not playing first leg. And, we hadn't forgot it. But
no, we just didn't talk about it, but thank you for reminding us.
Yep. So I do think that we're going to have to be a little cautious at this game. Can't get pulled too far out of position. I think we need to have a defensive focus with our back line and our midfield. But with other part of our midfield and forwards, we need to focus on attacking, and we're going to need to focus on attacking their center backs, which are a little bit slower. They got Bruno Mendes, Federico Pereira. They also have Luan from Palmeiras. So I think if it's going to come down to the midfield, if the midfield wins the battle, we can turn it over. We can create transition, which I think Toluca will give us transition opportunities. If we bury them, we can go up and then the game will go. But normally I think we need to play more of a mid block against this team. At least we don't want to pressure them too much, or we risk falling into what they're good at. And we saw them when they played Carson, they sliced through that midfield pretty good on some of those passes.
Yes, they have the ability to hurt you through crosses, which we saw in the beginning of the game against Carson. But then they had unbelievable 1-2s, which, again, I'm going to be honest, I don't think they can do against our defense. But they were just bouncing that thing like a pinball around Carson center backs. And I really don't believe they can do this, but they can hurt you in different ways. But they exposed themselves. Carson was able to score quite a few goals on them. At some point, again, it's just Vanny ball. I mean, that's a whole nother show. Greg Vanny being the coach of LA Galaxy, right? He just has crazy things. Like he had his center backs playing in the middle of the field, and the first goal in Toluca's away is, a 50-yard ball that just went over the defense, and these guys get on the board with 12 minutes. So I just feel like you have to play really conservative at home in the first 30 minutes, really keep yourself in this game, get a natural goal out of your home field, out of the fact that you're still, you're in charge of this series. You're in charge of this series because in the first 90 minutes, you don't concede, you're going for it. And then find a goal and get out of there. A 1-0 win to me is a massive win. And then we'll go decide it in Mexico. Am I crazy? Stop the game from getting out of control. I don't like, let's just go smash mouths with these guys, 6 goals in the first half or in the first leg. I do not want any of that. I want controlled chaos. Very controlled from our guys.
I think they're gonna have to. We're gonna have to push at some point on this game. We cannot go down there drawn. I mean, we want to keep a clean sheet for sure. And the one thing is they did let Carson put 2 goals in on them. And I don't know how, I'm not sure how many teams have let Carson put 2 goals on them this season, but Toluca's, nobody's let them put 3.
Well, again, because Turco Mohamed allows his fullbacks to go. And again, we'll go through some of these guys here as we go through it. But for example, Gallande, right? Gallande is a guy that he's constantly up on your ass making crosses. And we know we can be vulnerable in crosses. So this is a guy, for example, that is going to be attacking us. And at the same time, he's going to be opening spaces for our guys to do the very same. Denis Bwanga there, however, is a massive problem because he plays on that left side of the field. I expect Sonny just to be the guy 1-to-1 based on the last week and replace Denis. But go back to you. As you were saying, there's many ways these guys can hurt us. What do you do in that first leg? What is your dream scenario here outside of just 3-0 win like it wasn't against Cruz Azul? But what is my dream scenario is like, man, we got 1-0 and let's go to Mexico and figure this out for you.
I think at minimum, we got to get a 2-0 out of there. Obviously, if we get 3-0, we're in good shape. Let's not also forget that Toluca has an even bigger elevation than where we played last time. I believe they're at around 8,000 feet. So it's it's going to be a lot of elevation for the boys to deal with up there. So we really need to go ahead here. But I agree with you at the beginning of the game. We need to be very cautious. I think probably the first 15, 20 minutes, but with at least 15 minutes to go in the first half, they need to turn it up and they need to start pouring it on. I think by the second half, we will need to go all out for this. And as far as up front, how I would do that, I think that we need to go Sonny, Ordaz, and Martinez. Ordaz, I think, is the only guy to go in there to replace Bouanga just because of the speed. And this game is going to be decided on attacking speed. And same in the I see Omar in the chat as well. And that's kind of the consensus.
This is a great comment to that point, right? Speed encounters are their weaknesses, and we saw Carson and Gabriel Pack's goal at Toluca's was exactly that, and beat them over the speed through the wing. So it starts to raise the questions: who do you put to play, right? In that to basically your best 11, but who are the best players to fulfill this weakness or to exploit this weakness more likely?
The front three, again, to me, has to be Sonny, Ordaz, and Martinez. That has to be our front three. Those, that's it. Those are our fastest guys, other than Denny.
And in the middle, I would put Tim Tillman. I would want him to be kind of that pivot guy in the middle. Again, shout out to Tim Tillman. I know you should not be watching my podcast.
Tons of shit about Tillman last year.
Who? I did?
No, I did.
Oh, we all did at some point. Yeah. It's just what I was saying earlier because we attack this guy because we don't see the little things. But the pass to Martinez, his positioning, his smarts, the fact that he just flicked that ball and Martinez was basically wide open to score is what you want out of your midfielder. We've asked for this type of 1-2 down the middle, not Denis Bouanga trying to dribble two guys and then open something, and he doesn't have the best last pass, and that's why it dies many a times with us. And I really like when that guy plays the 10. Do not put anyone. I get it. You got to put Sonny in there for whatever reason, but I feel like this team had looked really good when Timmy is centered. Who would you like to see as the midfield there? Because I know we didn't really talk about.
Before we get this, just in the comments with I see Omar's got Schaffelberg. I would not start Schaffelberg in this
game. No. But I respect it.
I like Schaffelberg. The one gripe I have is Schaffelberg is a cross machine. Like the same way that Denis sometimes just shoots. He doesn't look for the pass. Schaffelberg crosses when he should go for goal. And this
or take a dribble or take one more stride and make a decision. Get your head up.
When he gets that ball, he's immediately, he's like one touch cross, and so that's. I don't think he's ready. I wouldn't put him into this game. I'd put him in at the end, depending on what happens. But situationally, if we need attacking, Schaffelberg's in there to cross. If we're not crossing, then I don't want him in there.
Shout out to Juan. He's on the chat. Always bringing the. This guy is awesome. If you don't follow him, he's hilarious. But we gotta address something here. Apparently, there's a player here named Zinha, and I'm gonna find this comment. And I wanted to know who he was as you guys were talking about it. And it turns out that he was one of the greatest players ever to play for Toluca. And this dude was born in Brazil at the beautiful city of Ipanguaçu. I have no idea what that is. I have no fucking clue where that is. But lived in Mexico many years. Made his career at Toluca, played there for, according to Wikipedia, 18 years with Deportivo Toluca. Zinha, Brazilian. I don't know much about him. I have never seen him play. Say what?
I think he's from Itaja, Rio Grande do
Norte.
Itaja, Rio Grande do Norte.
Well, mine says Ipanguaçu, so I don't know. But just an interesting thing how, I don't know some of these guys and, a lot of footballers end up making their career here.
He played for the Mexican national team.
Yeah. He's like a dual national. I don't know him. I know if you guys have followed this league, you probably know who he is.
This is a tangent, but we used to joke that every national team in the world has a Brazilian on it somewhere. So it looks like Zinha was one for Mexico. We had Benny Feilhaber for a long time. He was the
Dude,
American Brazilian.
so Benny's in that list. So Evander just passes like everybody in the Brazil list for MLS as the greatest scorer, right? And I go down the list, and guess who's in that list? Benny Feilhaber. And I had no idea that Benny was Brazilian. Honestly, I had no clue, because it was slightly before I started following LAFC. That's crazy.
He was born there. He lived a little bit, but I think he moved.
And the amount of goals he scored in MLS, maybe not for LAFC, even before LAFC, but Benny was a machine, man. He scored a lot of goals in this league. Shout out to him, because he was a great Brazilian in this.
No, Benny's one of the foundational LAFC players. Him, Beta Shore is another one. Like those two guys at the beginning, like helped build the legacy of this club. So big shout out to them.
Yeah, I know. It's like LAFC 1.0. You had to be there. If you're not, look it up already. It's becoming an encyclopedia topic already. But yeah, the Xenia thing is very, very cool. Very interesting story. Thanks for bringing it up. That's what makes the show interactive. That's why we like to do it live, because you guys basically dictate what we can talk about, which I love. But we have to talk about Toluca just a little bit more. Guess what? What's going to happen? What's going to be the score? I see someone saying we're going to have 3-1 on the board, which I would appreciate that more than the 1-0 I'm calling. Oh, I already called it. All right. But I really think that 3-1 would be a dream of a score. So if you have a score, just drop it in there in the comments. Really appreciate that. But Erik, I'll go to you. Not only score, but we have to talk about just solidify that starting 11, because I don't think we did the midfielders. Yep. Of course, we're going to have Hugo Lloris on goal. But, from there, Aaron Long is now a question whether he starts or not. You had thoughts on Eustáquio. So go ahead with your starting lineup, even before you talked about your prediction.
Okay, so my front three is established. The midfield, I think we're going to go with a 3-4-3, which is what we did last time. So my midfield is going to be Hollingshead. It's going to be Delgado. It's going to be Tillman, and it's going to be Palencia. And then the back line is going to be Segura. It's going to be Porteous, Tafari, and Long.
You putting Palencia in the middle? I don't understand.
No, Palencia is in the midfield on the right.
Why?
Because we're doing like a 3-4-3.
Is that in your head, or is that really happening? I'm not joking. I'm really wanting to know. Are we doing a 3-4-3 to you?
Yeah.
That's in game, right? Because I see what you're saying. I'm not fucking with you, dude. I'm trying to understand. Do you really believe that's going to be a 3-4-3, or do you think it's going to be a 4-3-3, which is basically the same back four that we've seen?
That's the lineup we played against Minnesota. That's the formation we play. We played a 3-4-3 against Minnesota, or a 5.
Palencia listed as a midfielder. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Right. He's a fullback. You can call it a 5-2-3, or you can call it a 3-4-3, whatever you want.
Yeah, and we've seen us. It's really hard to decide. In fact, we can discuss this in a cycle here, and basically have another 30-minute show here, because it's hard to understand when they do it, how they do it, because ultimately nobody really has a label there. It's more zoning than anything else.
It is because usually with the fullbacks, one of the fullbacks will kind of stay back and one will push forward. Also with the midfielders, when they get Tillman in there, along with those front three, Tillman will push up and be the fourth press, So they'll have 4 guys up there. Sometimes they'll rotate a fifth to kind of like close off one of the sides. But yeah, they'll try to get 4 guys on the press on this. So I think they'll save it like that, but they'll keep 5 to be able to come back against the attack. So
what do you think of what do you think of Henry's top 3 here?
No, man. You cannot miss the sitters that he missed and then get rewarded by starting in this game. No. Like if Ibobasi puts a goal in, or he could have put 2 goals in, if he puts those in, he's hot. You can ride a hot hand, but no, man, those were horrible misses.
Yeah, I know. I thought he looked rough.
Yeah, John.
I thought he looked rough. He looks one-dimensional. If you're in the box at the right place, he's gonna score. But he's not someone that can now find his own shot. If there's a guy in front of him, he can't dribble. He just cannot dribble. And as a Brazilian, I like guys that can fucking dribble before they can shoot. And because you can create your own shot, and now it's a higher probability shot. You don't have to be a great shooter or a great finisher. So we miss a guy like that. I've been craving a dude like that. Maybe Lucas Moura is that guy. Maybe. He's a guy who has a little pace to it. But again, we miss a guy like this. And I don't believe Jibo it is. But I like your formation. I like what you said there. Let's just make the
The
change to a
goal,
three
yeah,
back
yeah.
and allow Sonny to
Ernesto with the
shine on the left side.
Eustachio. So that's one I can see him coming in, depending on how the game goes. Like I said, if we're kind of a little more conservative in the first half and we decide to open it up in the second half and really push for some goals to get a differential, get a cushion to go to Mexico, I could see Eustachio and Chonier coming in together as both Canadian national team guys, and all of a sudden we have a ton of outside the box shooting with a little bit of fatigue on the legs of the other guys coming in to, I want Delgado in there just because of his discipline on positioning. He's really, really good at preventing transition plays against us, and that's why I like. He just has that veteran presence. But as the game gets going, I'd take him out in favor of more offense, which Eustachio and Chonier would both give us.
Yeah, I think Chonier gives you like a lot of chasing of the ball and like pressure as well, which is important in games like this. So at some point he's going to be utilized, whether he starts or not. I would like to see him play like, a good chunk of this game because it's the kind of game that you need someone to be on. However, more than anything, he's going to need to be a beast in Mexico. We're going to need to have someone constantly chasing these guys to slow them down on the away game. So I'm curious to see how do you, as a coaching staff, balance the fact that I need to be aggressive at home, but at the same time, I can't be overly aggressive because if I concede at home, that can hurt me more, right? So there's this mental game for a coaching staff to just not be overly aggressive at home. And with that being said, your lineup should reflect this. I like a back four. I don't like back threes, but I do like, again, the fact that we deploy Segura as our left back and he can shift middle. I like that, and I would continue with it. For this game, I would go conservative. Steven Eustachio, just for his experience, I want him to start, even if he can only give us 45 minutes. Now he's got a game under his legs already. I think he can do better there. So I agree with the chat there that Eustachio would be a good start. On the other side, Delgado or Chonier, I'm indifferent to that. It's a coach's decision. I would be happy with it, but I respect you liking
What
Delgado.
about Tillman?
And then Timmy would play, and then you have a decision whether you want to go 4 or 2 in up front or you know what I mean. So I may be more tempted to just have a 4-4-2, very conservative with Sonny on one side, Martinez on the other, since you don't have your guy, right? And then Timmy dictating pace, read the room, enter the game, dominate possession, or at least keep it balanced. Don't go 90-10 how it was at Colorado. Are you fucking kidding me? We can't let that happen against Toluca. That's what killed Carson when they were on the road. They couldn't get on the ball for the first half of that game. So I would do the 4-4-2. Wow. Just because of the type of game I want these guys to play at home.
I think in 8 years we've seen LAFC play a 4-4-2. Like, I don't think it's more than
never.
Once. And that's my question on that. I know Son has enough experience to know, because if you're in a 4-4-2, those two up front are occupying different spaces and have a slightly different wrinkles to their game. Sonny will know how to play a two-striker forward, but Martinez has never been a striker. Like, that's the one thing with that I'm not sure about.
You can modify it a bit by just playing a 4-3-1-2, which I think to me is almost the same, right? Now, as I said in the beginning of the show, you have Tillman in the middle of this cross, right? And Timmy can facilitate the 1-2 while your fullbacks can attack, particularly Palencia. Whether he's paced in the midfield or not, I think this is semantics, right? But I want to see this shape where Timmy's in the middle, Sonny is in the left. Don't put Tim, if Sonny comes out and Schaffelberg's in front of him, I'm like, here we go. Here we go. I don't want to see Schaffelberg starting up front for Denis Bonga. That is not what I want. No. No Schaffelberg for Denis Bonga. But it's probably what's going to happen, Erik.
Yeah. Isn't it hard to predict what's going to happen because we always have Denis Bouanga. If Denny plays a game, he'll do a 17-hour plane ride,
Yes.
land, and be on the field 2 hours later and play 90 minutes. It's like we never don't deal with him. But I was thinking,
yeah, it's
you
true.
know,
Like he's always available.
if we go,
He's always available.
Look, if we go 4 in the back and we're looking back there, like we got Segura, Long, Tafari, and Palencia, which means, Porteous is out. We're sitting him or somebody. That gives us 4 midfielders, at which place we can have Delgado, Tillman, and we can look at a Eustachio and a Chonier all in there, and then we have Martinez and Sonny at the top. How they fit that in, whether they do a 4-2-3-1 and they put Ordaz or Sonny playing in front of, like, one playing behind the other with the guys on the side, that could be something we could see as well. But yeah, I think Sonny will occupy the left.
You starting Long over Porteous or Porteous over Long?
I have 3 center backs. I'm just diving this rabbit hole. It doesn't matter. Interchange them.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? You have to sit one, bro. You have 4.
Yeah,
Segura.
I guess honestly, I would go a Porteous and Tafari because they've been dancing. They've been dancing.
Okay, all right. Well, Long has played the last 2 games and
looked
damn
between
good.
the 3. I'm not going to start. I'm not going to start the guy that's played 45 minutes in the last 10 months after an Achilles tear in the semifinal. Like, that's, if I'm choosing, that's who I'm sitting as Long.
And that's your argument, and I love it. And that's we got to start with that. That's a good argument. But hey, 45 minutes, a whole fucking season, and I'll go with the guy that played most of the season.
But hey, you do that. You put like Eustachio and Delgado as double sixes. And then, you get up there, you put Sonny on the left, you put Martinez on the right, you put Ordaz up there, and then you put Tillman right behind Ordaz, or Tillman on the right and Martinez behind Ordaz.
It just shows that kind of depth we have, right? Because we can have like 10-minute conversations about how the team can be structured. And that's why you do need a very smart coaching staff that thinks outside of the box. We'll try things. We'll raise the right flag when it doesn't work and try something else. It's not stubborn. And it seems like Mark is a lot of things. You can call him a lot of things, but you don't call him stubborn. I don't see stubbornness with him. It seems like he's just a guy that's sort of very kind of analytical and sort of analyzes what happens, the results based on the inputs, versus a guy like Gerondolo that would go into a press conference sometimes already knowing what he had to say, right? Not even thinking about it, which I always thought hilarious. Quick scouting report here. Beautiful scouting report I made of Toluca, and I think we should at least quickly talk about it. And these are the guys that played against Carson that I thought were good, and this is who I would start for Turco Mohamed, a great coach. Passages in Brazil. Santos FC had him. I would have loved to have them at LAFC at some point. But it never happened, and now we're playing against him. Garcia on goal, I believe. I think that's pretty much the way it goes. Gallende, as I said, I saw a lot of him against Carson. He was abusing their right side. Pereira, Mendes in the middle with Simon on the left, I think. Romero, Castro in the middle. That's a really kind of great midfield there. These guys are just basically their defending dudes, with Vega, Angelo, and Helinho, the other, to me, really good player that I see out of this midfield. And, of course, Paulinho. Would you say best player in Liga MX? I don't watch a ton of Liga MX, but is Gallardo. Sorry, guys. My bad. I literally just wrote horribly, and I couldn't read my own handwriting. Sorry about that. Gallardo, thank you. Yeah, but Paulinho, and again, chat, same thing. Like, is he one of the best guys here in in Liga MX? And go ahead and just give me your prediction of this game, and a quick shout out to anybody that maybe I didn't read on the Toluca list, because you did some scouting yourself.
Man, I just have a feeling that this is one of those games that we can just break open, that we probably are going to outperform what we should. Wouldn't it be interesting if Bouanga not being on the field all of a sudden makes Sonny more of a reference point, and Sonny goes off and scores 2 goals. Maybe he scores 3 goals in this game, puts the team on his shoulders and goes. He's due. Sonny is due for this moment. So I think this game is going to break open and we're going to see a 2-0 or it's a 3-0. But I think we're going to see a 3-0 tomorrow.
So here we go. The confidence once again from Erik. And Erik, you weren't very confident in the Minneapolis game, right? We thought we were going to get completely just shit housed there. And as I thought so too. I think you called it a 2-1.
I didn't want us to. I wanted us to rest all of our starters, which means inevitably our backups are probably going to get slaughtered. But, we pulled 3 points. I will take that 3 points. I was willing to light them up and burn those 3 points, but I will take 3 points much more happily than burn them.
So, okay, so 2-0 is your final score. I love it. I think that if we can
3-0.
get a 2-0.
No, 3. I'm calling 3.
Here we go. You're repeating.
3-0.
You're repeating. You think it's going to happen again. Unbelievable. I love it. And I think that is a good prediction, but a overly aggressive one. I would love it as well. I was back and forth between a 2-1, not an easy game and really hard to have a clean sheet against this team. But LAFC comes out superior at home with a slim margin, and let's go decide it over there. I really thought about that. Overall, I do believe that can still happen, but I'm going with a 1-0. Like I said in the beginning, a ugly game. LAFC purposely not being slow about it, but kind of not being as aggressive as we would expect for them to being at home, unless something happens really early and these guys get on the board, and then LAFC will pick up the pace, and I can see that 2-1. But if I have to make a prediction, I agree. Our defense is playing well. Lloris gets another clean sheet, and we get out of there with a slim margin to go decide this thing in Mexico. And as you said in the beginning, bro, it's whoever wants it more. There's nothing more about this type of games and series. As you've seen your Palmeiras play Libertadores, you know how hard it is to get out of a semifinal of a Continental Cup.
Yeah. How about Hugo fucking Lloris, who presence and goal lets me predict zeros all the time and be right.
I know, man. Like that's if you follow any trends, for sports, you're like just bet LAFC not allowing a goal.
Whatever happens, Hugo Lloris is gonna bail us out.
Okay, let's see if anybody else puts some comments in there. El Juan Urquieta, I'm sorry, 2-0. All right, yeah, I like that. Let's just not concede. Don't concede, because that's where we get into trouble. And with this last comment here from Erik, we're gonna end our show. We appreciate it. We had a lot to talk about. We like to keep these shorter this year, but this is a special edition, given that we have yet another game in the middle, a massive game for this franchise.
And we'll be back Thursday, won't we? Thursday after the game?
I mean, how can we not talk about this thing? Unless things get so out of control that we have to do an emergency one the night of, or something like we did the halftime of that first leg.
Do Twitter Spaces for that.
It's something like that, right? Because I like to change it up a little bit. And again, you guys can probably get really sick of our faces really fast. But thank you very much, Erik, as usual, for doing this to me. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. It really helps us out. We're still running the Martinez trading card promo. So all you have to do is subscribe to our channel and put Martinez's jersey in any of our comments, and you're automatically entered. I will ship this out of my eBay in the beginning of next month. I appreciate it. And I'm already looking at the next one. It might be Hugo Lloris or whoever is the next hero for LAFC. I have a feeling it's going to be this guy right here, Saint Lloris, once again. Saint Lloris, Yves Saint Lloris, the man, the myth. And I'm so happy he came back to play for us one more year. So with that, that's your last of our show. Cheers.